If you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. The relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine has been, shall we say, chilly. The U.S. voted against a resolution blaming Russia for the war. It's rare the U.S. votes with North Korea, Russia, Sudan, and Belarus. The U.S. did offer a resolution calling for an end to fighting, but without assigning culpability as to who started the war. So what's really going on? Has there been a shift, or is the Trump administration trying to end a war which started on Biden's watch?
He's a very smart guy. He's a very cunning person, but I've dealt with some people I've dealt with some really bad people. He had no intention, in my opinion, of settling this war. I think he wanted the whole thing. When I got elected, we spoke, and I think we're going to have a deal.
Ronald Reagan told the Soviet Union to tear down this wall, and with the wall came tumbling down the Communist Union. Russia is a shell of what it used to be. So will it stay that way? Kim Strassel writes for the Wall Street Journal and joins us now. Welcome, Kim. I guess we can start with the basics. The U.S. voting with North Korea and against NATO allies on the one hand, and now the U.S. and Ukraine trying to negotiate a deal which may provide Ukraine the protection it needs.
Well, I think this is how Donald Trump does business, Trey. And by the way, it's great to be here. Look, one thing that I think it's a disgrace that this was how we voted in the UN. I mean, standing alongside North Korea to vote in favor of Russia is not a shining moment in American history. We also apparently pressured Israel to do that as well, too, when it wasn't really their desire to do so. But apparently there was enormous pressure. They said that the U.S. insisted. And right now, given what assistance the U.S. is giving Israel, I can see them succumbing to that pressure. But I think the problem here is it's very clear Donald Trump has said that he doesn't want to offend Russia and that, you know, he's not choosing a side here. He's on the side of the world. He wants to have peace. That's what matters. I think the difference is he often talks, and you just mentioned Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan understood that you could absolutely assign blame and culpability, and it's very clear who is to blame here, Vladimir Putin and his aggression that's been going on toward Ukraine for more than a decade. And you could still talk. And Reagan went out there and talked about the evil empire and called for them to stop it, bring down this wall. And even along those times, America maintained its diplomatic relationship with Russia and managed to pressure into doing some things and ultimately won the overall victory. I think that is possible in this environment as well, too.
Kim, is this really a question of gratitude? I mean, is that what's holding this back, that Zelensky hasn't said thank you enough? I mean, has Putin apologized for poisoning enemies, taking U.S. citizens hostage, or using social media to mislead American voters? I mean, I don't think he's apologized for that.
Yeah, you know, it's an unfortunate aspect of this, which I think are some of the theatrics that are involved, and the clear expectation from the White House that anyone who's received our assistance must bend the knee and kiss the ring. And of course, by the way, Zelensky has numerous times thanked the American people. He did it in front of a Congress. You know, he did it. He has continually done it. What's really coming to play here, though, is that much deeper issues than not really just gratitude. I almost feel that's become a little bit of an excuse. There's a deep reluctance, and I get it, among Ukrainians to accept a deal in which there is no assurances that Russia isn't going to do this again. And that's the problem problem is Russia has repeatedly done this, repeatedly broken its promises. And I appreciate Donald Trump's point that, well, they don't want to mess with him. They respect him. They won't make a move when he's in office. True, maybe that is actually true. But Donald Trump is not going to be in office forever. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, what is Ukraine left with to help make sure that Russia doesn't come and take yet more of it?
Is there any chance, Kim, at all that the U.S. says, good luck, let Europe defend Ukraine, and does the same thing go for Taiwan and China?
I do really worry about this because, look, when we talk about Russia's aggression and its territorial conquest and taking of Ukraine, that is just the beginning of its desire. Vladimir Putin has always wanted to reassemble that former evil empire. And, you know, other European countries are very aware of that situation. And we do see some positive movement in Europe of attempting, or at least discussing seriously for the first time in a long time, about rearming and being more prepared. But I do not see them necessarily being capable of stopping that threat without the United States engagement. And that's been the case for a long time. The United States has a role in this.
Yeah, well, when you're the most powerful country in the world, you do have a responsibility to stick up for those who can't stick up for themselves. Kim Strassel from the Wall Street Journal, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.
Thank you.